Welcome. In this guide, we'll use ZModeler to modify clothes of the sim. We'll use the workshop for modding, and ZModeler for altering mesh. I create new project, then load adult male, and pick police uniform. This is our base model. We shall add long sleeves to this model in ZModeler. To extract the model, I pick mesh, high level of detail, and press export button. Locate folder, and specify police. OK. The mesh was exported. Start ZModeler. Pick import. We need a rig file first, so locate, and load adult rig file. Here it is. Don't change any options, they don't affect here. Just press import. This is a skeleton, loaded from the rig file. It looks a bit messy. Many colored lines. Well, the skeleton has a lot of bones, and each bone has axis lines. They can be toggled off in options, but I'll make them just smaller. Pick settings. General. Views, nodes. And set many axes to 30. OK. Axis lines are shorter, and look much better. I select the skeleton root. Click on Properties tab. And toggle off Allow No Influence option. Press Apply, and deselect. The adult skeleton is ready. To load the mesh itself, pick Import. Locate police file. Click on it. I need to specify the skeleton name, type, adult, and press Enter. I don't change merge options, they're fine for this case, especially the merge blends. Press Import. The mesh model is here. We have two of them. The base and fit model, and the thin and fat. Hide the thin and fat model. We shall edit the base and fit model. Hide and collapse police node, so you can reach skeleton in viewports. I hover the right forearm bone, right-click on it, and pick Bones, Current Bone. Then unhide police node. You can see the right forearm shines in color. This is the bone affection shown. Click on the Materials Browser button in Toolbar. Our model used Material Police. I prefer vertical tiles, and larger samples. Double-click on Material Tile. The Material Properties window appears. I adjust material by enabling specular highlight. Use skin color for it. Drag the power slider, to let the specular spread over an entire material. I'll adjust colors later when textures are loaded. So, let's load texture maps. Click on a button next to texture map. A textures browser appears. It's empty at the moment since model was loaded without texture maps. I press Add button and load diffuse texture map, that I've extracted earlier. It's a police diff file. I'll load it. Then load a specular map from police spec file. I'll not use the specular map right now. I pick police diff texture and press OK. Move materials browser aside. Thus you'll see material sampler, while you change properties. I enable affected by map option and specify there, detail A, or alpha. Collapse detail page, and click on textures button, on spec map page. I'll load additional bright white texture map. Glow TGA. This is a pure white texture I use instead of spec map. I need only R channel, the red channel. Now I can change the specular color to dark brown. And diffuse color to bright blue. Bright. OK, the color doesn't matter much. The spec map should be affected by inverse of diffuse map. Enable affected by map option and specify, detail 1-A. The spec map will gain full effect on black alpha of diffuse map, and will not appear on white alpha areas. The model looks much better now. I hide the skeleton for better performance. The model is shown faceted, it's just a rendering option of viewport. You can toggle it off by clicking this combo, and disabling the flat shaded mode. As you see, the model is smoothly shaded now. Hide the base and fit group, and unhide the thin and fat group. This object contains two blend stages, the thin, its default, and the fat. Click on Structure tab. The blend is hidden under Damage Object State. ZModeler can show you several levels of damage, but I'll use only full. I push the damage button to enable blending. You can see the fat model now. Changing the level will take effect in viewports. But again, I'll use only the full level. The same works on base and fit model too. The damage state for this model is a fit blend state. I've created the model of sleeve. It uses the same material as the rest of objects, even more, it's UV mapped onto the same texture. It's an object made out of cylinder. It doesn't fit perfectly at the moment, but I shall refine it and make it look quite realistic. First of all, I reset object's local axes. Use, display, local axes, options should be, keep object, and both. Pick, reset to world tool, and click on a sleeve object. Unhide adult skeleton and hide police model. I want to bind sleeve object with the skeleton. Mark the skeleton root sphere using the M hotkey. This is a hotkey for Select, Mark tool. Then use Rigging, Bind tool. And click on an object to bind. The sleeve shows bone's weight. I have played a little with an object, and it has proper settings. In your case, the affection color will not appear. Unhide the police object so can refine the sleeve. I disable the bind tool, hide police, and set the upper arm bone as the current bone. It's just to get rid of color weight for arm highlight. Well, that's better. Unhide the police again. In order to refine the sleeve, switch it to Vertices level. Hide the skeleton. The green normals makes editing uncomfortable. I pick Settings, General, Views, Meshes, and set normals length to 0.2. Press OK to close. Normals are fine now, but you can make them even shorter. Deselect. I use the Modify, Move tool and toggle snapping on. Toggling snap to vertices is a must too. You can leave snap to vertices on, and toggle just snapping on, off, when needed. I start dragging a vertex, and it snaps to a vertex of original model. Thus, I connect sleeve to the model with no gaps between. Push the combo and select Semi-Transparency. You can see the hand model through the sleeve model. It's easier to refine vertices when you see what lays behind them. I move vertices of cuff closer to the hand, and refine the rest of vertices to lay properly. Note the increase of detailization at the elbow. The higher detail on a bend area will produce better result when arm will bend. So I need more vertices across the sleeve in this area too. I do it on edges level using the Modify, Insert tool. Highlight and click sequentially, on edges across the sleeve. You can tap Ctrl key to highlight another edge under cursor. I put insertion line across adjacent triangles too. The tool stops when I reach the open edge. And the final cross section. Just lead insertion line to the vertex point, instead of an edge. Even more detailization is preferable here, but I leave it this way. The bone weighting is next. Select the sleeve object and pick Properties. Expand Vertices, Format inside Mesh Branch and enable Rigging. Then set Max Rig Bones to 4. Press Apply, and deselect. To assign bones weight, I'll copy them from original object. I use Rigging Influence Copy tool. Hover the base and fit model, click on it, then hover the sleeve object and click. Weights are copied generally from forearm and hand. Pick Move tool and unbind the skeleton. Right-click on skeleton base and make sure its Bones Setup mode is off. Hover the right hand bony and move it. You see the proper sleeve bending at the elbow. Pick Rotate tool, and make sure its options are as shown. Especially the base to pivot is off. Hover the right hand bony and rotate it. Look, the cuff is moving unreal. It's affected by hand bones too much. While it shouldn't be affected that much. Right-click on hand bone and pick Bones, Current Bone. You see the cuff is shining green, it's affected. Rotate the hand bone again, so you can clearly see the problem. Switch sleeve to vertices level. Pick Rigging Influence Paint tool. Hold Shift key and scroll mouse wheel to increase brush size. Then hold Control key and scroll to decrease the pressure. 40 is perfect. I make the forearm bone to fully affect the cuff. I press and hold left mouse button, and drag to paint. The cuff is getting orange. It's very important to have semi-transparency toggled on when you paint. The brush will affect all vertices in range, and will not ignore backface. The cuff is red. Fully red, perfect. It's fully affected by forearm bone. Rotate the right hand bone, to see changes. Some cuff vertices are still affected. The forearm bone is still the current. Just paint vertices slightly. OK. Rotate the right hand bone again. Everything is fine, but slightly unreal. The hand should affect the cuff. Make right hand the current bone. Switch the sleeve to vertices level. Reduce the pressure, down, to 20. Then paint the tip of cuff. And, again. I disable, solid, and flat shaded, to see the wireframe and colored highlight only. I think the thumb finger should affect the tip of cuff too. Rotate it. Yeah, it definitely have to affect the cuff. Set thumb as current bone. And paint its affection on a very tip of cuff. And some more. Okay. I can move the mesh of cuff closer to the hand. Since hand is affecting it now, it will bend properly. Refine some vertices. OK. Disable, semi-transparency, toggle on, solid. Right-click on skeleton base, and pick, bones, reset, transform. The wireframe outline mode shows solid lines across the sleeve. I've used the insert tool in sharp mode by mistake, the vertices are disjoint there, and produce improper shading. It will be fixed now. Switch to vertices level, and select the problematic area. Or an entire sleeve, for reliability. Pick, modify, submesh, weld, and expand its options. Toggle multiple targets on. Hover the vertex and click to apply. You see the mapping is screwed. That's because the UV tolerance was too high. Set the lower value, angle can be 120. OK. The cross lines has gone. Deselect. And, disable the wireframe, in viewport. You see the shading is sharp, and inaccurate on the sleeve. We shall fix the most of it now. Enable, the wireframe, and outline again. Pick, Surface, Normals, Smooth tool. Hover and click. These are default settings I use. There are still some pairs of normals on vertices. Hover and click again. Fine. But look here. The vertices don't match perfectly, and smoothing has failed. To match perfectly, deselect, and move them, with snapping toggled on. Snap. OK. Same here. Good. Disable snapping. Select vertices for smoothing. And smooth again. And again. Fine. I toggle off the wireframe and outline. The solid shading is smooth and fine now. Disable textures too. Good. Smooth and accurate. The only sharp shading appears at a joint line. It will be refined later, when the sleeve is attached completely. Toggle on the textures and outline. The next step is to refine blending of the model.